All of these things I'm talking about coalesce around an idea known as behavioural addiction. So if you think about addiction, and the way we've thought about it for a very long time is that that term is very loaded, it means something very specific, and it's generally meant substance addiction. You ingest a substance, your body responds in a certain way, and you have a certain set of responses to that substance that are termed addiction. There are more and more experiences now, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, that despite the absence of any substance inspire very, very similar responses. You can't really tell the difference a lot of the time. So the definition I like for behavioural addiction is it's the drive to engage in some immediately rewarding behaviour, something that you do persistently, compulsively over and over, despite long-term consequences that are negative, and they can be on 4 different dimensions: physical, social, mental, or financial. So it could be that you end up spending a lot of money on a game that is predatory, that somehow gets you to spend more than you'd like. It could be gambling, where you spend a lot of money. It could be physical, where you just don't move. I heard cases of people who played video games for 5 weeks straight and just ate pizza for 5 weeks because they were so engrossed in what they were doing. It could be mental. So one of the things that's happening now is that our threshold of boredom is incredibly low. If you get into an elevator for 3 floors and you know you'll be in the elevator for maximum 30 seconds and you feel the need to pull out your phone, that's a sign that your threshold for boredom is rock bottom. And if you get in an elevator anywhere, everyone will pull out their phones. That's a moment where boredom is just too unappealing. You can't just sort of inhabit that moment anymore, which is what people used to do in elevators. That was time to do nothing. And so we use that time to pull out our phones. So that's a change in our mental lives. And one of the reasons why that's a problem, I think, is that your most creative, interesting, new, different ideas come from moments of boredom. Pushing through those moments, that's where interesting, different things happen. If you don't court moments of boredom, if you're not okay with them, you never really have that chance. You keep living your life in basically the same way. And then, of course, the social effects, the main ones that I focus on. How will the generation that grows up spending all its time on screens look different from the generations that came before? And I think in some ways they'll look quite different. They won't hone some of the skills that are absolutely essential in building long-term relationships with people, especially romantic relationships when they have families and then they have children of their own and then they engage with real people in the workplace. So those are some of the big concerns. And this includes a lot of different experiences. We're talking about use of phone, email, social networks, video games, working, exercising, shopping, gambling, and so on. Lots of experiences. You might wonder how many people fall under this banner. This is an old study from 2011 that combined all the papers in the area that had studied the question. They basically said 41% of all adults have at least one behavioural addiction. That number is sure to rise. And we know that because the iPad was introduced that year, and it's the vehicle for a lot of these experiences, that the number has probably risen above 50%. So it's a fairly big issue.